Ashely, this is like, so I just have to set the scene. Okay. So for you, beloved listener, like Ashely literally is a sister from another mister. We knew this. I feel like I knew this like dating. I knew this the minute I spoke to you, and I was like, what a magical being. I am so grateful you're here. I'm so excited to talk about your book and what you're working on and your beautiful work in the world.
Oh, Julie, I love you so much. It's so true. We are sisters from another myth. Like, I feel like any life decision I make, like you must know about it because you are such a sister, an intuitive soul sister, like divine sister. So thank you. It's a joy to be here today.
I'm so excited. All right. I want to let's dive in. First of all, you have an amazing background. You really do. And I know that you've also been making some pivots just in terms of you just came out and birthed your first book. Let's talk about the book first, like the inspiration, Authentic Power. So everyone listening, you're going to have to get this book. It is amazing. It's called Authentic Power, Permission. Give yourself permission to feel. I want to talk about the feeling part. And if you can share maybe a little bit about your story, which is really powerful, but let's talk about how did you even, conceive it before birthing it?
Well, I love telling this story because it involves you, Julie.
Right.
It's so fun. So how the book was conceived was during the early days of the pandemic, I felt myself overcome with very familiar feelings that I had experienced before, which I'm sure we'll get into, but feelings of trauma, of grief, of loss, of just really uncomfortable, messy feelings in the past. And, I used to just bury them. It came out in other ways. But in 2020, I had done the work. I knew what I needed to do. And so I had come to you as my coach also saying like, Julie, I feel like pregnant with something. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, it's definitely not another kid because I have 3 healthy kids at home, but I'm pregnant with something. And so it was through our intuitive life designer sessions that it came out of this like meditation that you were helping guide me through. And I saw a vision of a book. I actually saw like a gold like angel and a book, and it was like, get to work, you're writing. And I was like, okay. And so I started writing and journaling, and also I felt very called to interview other healers in the world about my own, like one about my own healing journey, but 2, wisdom and advice that they could share with others. So you're featured in my book. In addition to Julie's incredible wisdom, I've interviewed doctors, psychologists, ER doctors, spiritual mentors, energy healers, all about how we can access the wisdom within, which is what I call your authentic power, by giving ourselves permission to feel. And the reason I did that is because my entire life, for most of my life, until I was in my mid 30s, I never gave myself permission to feel my feelings. Mm-hmm. And that started when I was 11 years old. When my life changed forever. My father died of a sudden death heart attack right in front of me, my mom, and my sister. And we tried to save his life. And unfortunately, there was nothing that we could have done. My mom and sister gave him CPR. I ran out to call 911 and get the neighbors to help, but there was nothing we could have done. His heart was blocked. He died. And fast forward, even like years later, I never even acknowledged the fact that he died. Like my friends in high school wouldn't even tell them that my dad had died. Everyone was like, oh yeah, Ashley's dad is just never around. I never wanted to talk about it. I didn't want to deal with my grief. I didn't want to deal with my trauma. And despite multiple people trying to help me, of course, my mom's trying to give me access to some of the greatest grief therapists, children's grief therapists in our region, I didn't want the help. I was not ready to hear it. I didn't even want to look at the fact that my dad was not there anymore. Like that, I couldn't do it. And I think what led me to that was, I'll never forget his wake. And I really never talk about this, but I'm feeling called to share, where, it's an open casket and he was in his military dress. And I looked and I was like, nope, I can't do this. I can't do this. I cannot address the fact that he's no longer here because he was my person. And that was when I decided that I was not going to go there. So of course, when you bury trauma and feelings, that comes out in other ways. And for me, that looked like people pleasing and lack of boundaries and just putting on this mask of strength that everything is okay. And I was an Oscar worthy actress, Julie. Like, I swear to God, you could look at me in high school or college and it probably looked like I had my shit together. I was in high school, I was secretary of my class. I was captain of the dance team. I was an editor on the yearbook. In college, I was president of my sorority. I was editor of the school newspaper. Like, on paper, I looked really good. But personally, I was a disaster. Even afterwards, I had an addiction to work. I had a destructive relationship with alcohol. I got myself into destructive relationships with men, and just continued for years and years and years on that path, ignoring my feelings, really not even being present, like just trying to keep up with the Joneses, keep up with the world around me, living a pretty selfish life. And it wasn't until I was in my early 30s when another trauma hit me over the head. And it's like the universe is like calling to me at this point. This was like two crises in one. It was a mystery illness that was undiagnosed. And also when I delivered my third baby, Scarlett, postpartum depression. So I was diagnosed with Lyme disease and postpartum depression at the same time. My body was shutting down physically. And just to paint a picture of what that looks like for anyone who has suffered from Lyme disease, it's like I would feel dizzy, vertigo. My entire body went numb. My arms and legs went numb. I couldn't walk. I lost control of my bowels. I couldn't digest anything. My weight got down to a dangerous weight that I was before even before high school. I looked anorexic, even though I would try to eat. I mean, it was so bad. But Lyme disease also, it's so funny. It's kind of the mask of Lyme, because on the outside, I looked healthy physically, but I felt like I had the flu every single day and nobody could figure out why. And then on top of that, I was diagnosed with postpartum depression after delivering my third child. So this literally all smacked me at the same time. And I'll never forget the day where I cried out for help and called out to God, because I was literally ready to just surrender my life and die. The kids had been taken to my in-laws because I couldn't even care for them anymore. I was completely bedridden. And it was like after a hospital visit, I was taken by ambulance to the hospital because I lost control of my bowels and couldn't see and almost became blind. And I tried to get out of bed and I still couldn't. I was still dizzy and I almost stumbled down the stairs, and I just like surrendered on my family room floor. And I was like, take it, God, this is no longer mine. That was like my defining moment where I just kind of gave up and energetically surrendered. And I was like, take me now, I'm good. Or let's heal this. But I'm not doing anything else, because I have tried my ways to heal this through doctors and medicine, and it's not working. And so what I learned was that healing was a spiritual journey, because when my body couldn't do physically anything else, therein I started feeling all the feelings. When I got still, I couldn't move. I felt the trauma of losing my father. I felt the grief. I started really allowing myself to feel what the hell had happened in my entire life. And what I found was I felt a little bit better every day. And it was like, and I don't want to say I got better overnight. Absolutely not. Full stop took a year, and I'm still healing, 5-6 years later. I'm great now. But what I learned was that one, there's no one size fits all approach to healing, energetic, physical, emotional, mental healing. But two, I also found that when you give yourself permission to feel, when you get quiet and still and access that wisdom within, which I call your authentic power, that is where massive transformation takes place. That is where you will heal your life. So I look at you, Julie, today, and I am a completely different person than I was 5-6 years ago now, when I was screaming on my floor, God, surrender, take me. I have been reborn into a new, enlightened being, full of awareness for myself, for others, full of compassion, full of love, full of integrity and honesty. And I'm just so proud of how far I've come and how much I've healed. And my goal with my book, Authentic Power, is to help others who are going through any sort of adversity and teach them that it's okay to let yourself feel. It's okay to take off that mask of strength, because therein lies healing. So anyways, I'm going to stop myself there because I feel like I just went on and on and on, but I felt very called to share all that right now.
Oh my gosh. No, please. I'm just taking notes, and I think I can already feel anyone listening, and I'm just speaking to you, to our listener, like we are with you. I mean, it's so powerful, because what I'm also getting is that, we know, right? We know this, that our emotions, that there's a cellular memory, and that you stored those feelings. And so, you tried to mask them, and it didn't help. And eventually your body, your mind, your soul was like, we're ready. We want to, like, it's time to look at this, to be with these feelings. I can't even imagine. I mean, just you explaining and sharing so vulnerably about seeing your father like that in his wake. I can't even, I mean, the trauma there, that's like big old capital T trauma. That's not just, that is so intense. And for you to have carried that, Ashely, it's like even getting your body, it was like, we can't do this anymore. We're not going to keep holding this inside. And I think what you are sharing, and one of the reasons I'm in love with this idea and what you've written about, and then all of this information you're sharing, is what you're really saying, and I believe this, is we are meant to feel whatever it is that's going on, not meant to stuff it down or pretend it's not there. That actually leads to disease. That leads to illness. And love what you said. There's not one size fits all for healing, and that it's about giving yourself permission. And that means whatever those feelings are, whatever they are, saying, I'm going to allow this to be here, which is then, like you said, surrender. So powerful.
It's like so true. And, I've heard the analogy is like, see your feelings as if they were like a passing cloud, observe them. Right. And I agree with that. And I love that. But I also say, take it a step further. And if you're feeling angry or you're feeling the grief, and you should enter within that emotion, because that anger is there to tell you something. And so I say, get curious. Why am I feeling angry today? Where is it showing up for me in my body? And what is it here to teach me? And that's actually how I came up with my feel framework, which is really like how I taught myself how to address these messy and uncomfortable emotions that come up. And it, like, when I figured it out, I was like, oh my God, it literally spells feel. Like, it was definitely divinely given to me. So like, first is you focus on that emotion. And I say, it's like, sometimes you just have a feeling, you can't identify that emotion or that feeling, and that's also okay. But I want you to focus on that and hold on to it. And sometimes, you're like, I'm angry or I'm uncomfortable. So, okay, focus on that emotion. And the next step is the step that most people never take to heal, is enter within that emotion. And why? Because it's so much easier. And all dear listeners, I hear you. It is so much easier to be like, not today, grief, not today, trauma. I am not dealing with you. But I think that's at the detriment to our health and well-being. Now, obviously, I say enter. Like, if you're feeling that grief today, you enter within that grief. It is an indicator that your body is trying to tell you something. So get curious about it. Enter within it. What does it look like to enter? That means experience it. So allow yourself to scream on the floor. Allow yourself to punch a pillow. Allow yourself to cry. Maybe you laugh. Maybe you move your body. Like, for me, I sometimes need to like let out my anger by running. Like, I'm annoyed with my kids and I like let it out by running. It can work. It's like however you want it. Sometimes it's just nothing. Sometimes it's just sitting there and sobbing. I've done it all. And then the last, like, this is you processing these emotions, right? Like, you're moving through them. And I think that's such a beautiful artistic thing to do to heal your body. And then lastly is listen, learn, and love that emotion back. First, listen to that, what that emotion is trying to tell you. You can do that through journaling. You can do that just through getting quiet. Learn from that emotion, because now what I have found in my own life is that all my emotions are here to teach me something, the good and the bad. And they're also all temporary. And when you address them, you learn a lot faster than burying them down. And then finally, love that emotion back. I think our society teaches us that like, you shouldn't be angry, you shouldn't be uncomfortable, you shouldn't grieve, like wear that mask, don't do it. But I say, love all the emotions, the good, the bad. They're all here for a reason. They're all indicators to get curious about how you can process things and heal your life. So I'm really excited to share that because the feel framework, because it's worked so well for me. Obviously, you can see how excited I am talking about it. And I'm hoping that anyone who's listening can just try it and see how it works for them.
Okay. Love it. Love it. I love that this just came out, of course, for you. First of all, I love like the 3 L's around that. You know what I love about this? 2 things. One is you are really showing and teaching and modeling how not to abandon yourself, which I think is something that I can certainly relate to. You know, when we abandon ourselves like you did, it's not like those emotions they're still there. They're still there. They just stay there buried and then fester, which it's like, I think of it like mold, you know, like if you don't deal with it, you're going to have, it's almost like, that's kind of gross, but really like moldy feelings. I've never really thought of that before, but yeah, it's like bacterial, like you.
And mold makes you sick, physically sick.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a perfect way to look at that, Julie, is like, if you want to see it as mold and it festers, but like, I truly believe that my Lyme disease and postpartum depression was exacerbated by me not accessing or processing the trauma that I had experienced. I think that Lyme might have even been the trigger to actually make it come out. And so I always say, I am so grateful for Lyme disease. And I'm also equally as grateful for experiencing postpartum depression, even though I know like how hard it is. I'm grateful these happened to me. I would never have woken up and been reborn had I had not had this experience. It was life-changing for the better for Ashely. So I will forever be grateful for Lyme disease.
Which even that gratitude, that can shift energy. The other thing you said that I thought was so powerful, and I wanted to ask you, because I really love this. And of course, just from the coaching hat is get curious, really get curious. You said, where is this showing up in your body? What might this be telling you? And I can tell you, I maybe you can speak to this with the curiosity. I know for me, and I know from those that have written in, sometimes it's fear or anxiety or worry, which, you know, if you're in that, and I just speak for myself, there are times if I'm fearful, I don't want to keep feeling it because I'm scared I'm going to get more fearful. That's probably one area for me, you know, and I know we've talked about that and for others listening. And so I love though, this idea of getting curious because it shifts. It's like you become more of an observer.
I love that. It's so true. And we talk a lot about this in coaching. Full disclaimer, I've gone through Julie's amazing life designer program after having like birthed this book through her coaching me, but it really does teach you to get curious. And I think for me, I was always naturally curious. So I'm a trained journalist. Before I had my awakening, I was a journalist. And so I was naturally curious. Interestingly enough, not about my own life, but about others. So, I would be covering other stories, ironically, other stories of trauma too, just not my own trauma. So I think what I've taught myself is that like when these feelings come up, if you get curious, you'll find answers, you'll find that wisdom within, by getting curious. And it's so simple. It could be like asking yourself, where do I feel this anger? Why might it be showing up for me in my shoulders? What could be the source of it? And like getting quiet and maybe like doing some spiritual writing or sacred writing, as I call it, where you're asking spirit to give you some answers, or just like getting quiet in meditation. So getting curious, I think, is such an important part of accessing your authentic power, which is your wisdom within.
Awesome. It is so this like feel framework. So even just, and then being curious, what I love so much is you're saying to enter in it, not just allow it to pass through. I get the clouds thing. For me, what I've learned, and I know so many people tuning in. I know we've got like a whole beautiful community of highly sensitive empaths.
Hi. Nice to meet you all.
Ashely is high on the empath, right? The empath spectrum. You're like, I know. I feel like you definitely, you fall in there. And this is, I think, I just from talking to you, and I think, for those listening that might feel like, I don't, like you said, I don't want to feel grief today. I don't want to, and, especially with all that's going on in the world, we're busy. How do you carve out time? Because girl, Ashely's being beyond humble here. She's got a very, very, very successful, not just PR firm, but you also, you've done a lot of other work. I know you do coaching, you take on incredible clients, well-known clients, and help them to get their message in the world. And you also have training in Reiki. You have all kinds of incredible experience and background. And you have 3 girls and you're married, and just time. How do you, this might sound weird, but like, let's say you are feeling grief and you're in the middle of a meeting, or like, how do you carve time, and where do you find time to feel?
Oh my gosh, I love that. Like all day long, every day. And I think you bring up a good point. Like in a meeting, if you're like, you feel something coming up and it could be from that conversation, I hold on to it. And then as soon as I'm done, I allow myself. So like, it could be like, I'm going to get on my mat, and sometimes you only have time for 10 breaths. Right. And it's like those, like, we know Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor, dear friend, right? 90 seconds is all it takes to allow yourself to process and move through things. So of course, days that you don't have time, there's always going to be time. You can always find time. And for me, what I've learned is that if I make processing my feelings a priority throughout my day, I'm going to move through the day with so much, it's almost like floating through the day. And like, this can start in the morning. Like for me, I love to wake up before my kids wake up and set my day, like with the right tone and having some intentions, but also noticing any feelings that might've come up from a dream from the day before. And then also throughout the day, what I'd love to do, and I used to never do this. I was like type A, like driver, like, let's go do this. But taking breaks throughout my day, allowing myself to pause and feel, or go through the feel framework, or even just take those 10 deep breaths, Julie, I know you and I are big fans of putting our hands on our hearts and just seeing what's coming up, just slowing down. Even if you don't have a lot of time, maybe it's like 30 seconds in between calls. Sometimes that is all you need. And so for me, like you listed off all these things, like, I'm busy, and this is like, I love to be busy. This is what I do. But I also make sure that my time to access my authentic power is honored every single day, multiple times a day. And so that is like what I want everyone to gather from this. You can always you have a choice. You have that choice to make time to access your authentic power. I used to never make that a priority. Now I do every day. And I keep putting my hand on my heart because it's so true for me. Make time to do it every day. There's always time to put yourself first. And that's what I do now. And because I do, massive transformation and healing in my life.
You are such a miracle. I just, first of all, the blessing of getting to be a dear friend of yours and get to know you and your story. And even when we, first got to know each other, where you were and what has shifted. And thank you for birthing this book. This book, first of all, you guys, first of all, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And I have to say, seeing the creation of the cover and as you were writing it, it's just beautiful, and it's so powerful. Last question would be just, you interviewed a lot of amazing healers and leaders and people that, really have all of this wisdom about healing and feeling. Are there any key nuggets that you maybe haven't said yet that you want to just share that came out of that book? I recommend everyone get it and read it also, but just anything that you're like, let's make sure we share this.
Yeah, I think the heart flare I want to share is that I felt very called to interview other healers and incredible healing luminaries for this book, because I didn't do this work alone. I know it was an Ashely job to do, but I was mentored by some of the most incredible people. Julie, you're one of them. But also, like you mentioned, as a business owner, I run a bustling PR firm. I have access, and I'm so grateful to have access to some of the greatest healing minds in the world, truly in the world. And I said, you know what? They have taught me so much about how I can heal my life that I want to share their wisdom. This book would not be what it was without their knowledge. So, as an example, oh my gosh, she's your friend. You introduced me, Dr. Jamie Hope. She taught me about stressing hard and stressing soft, and about how we are human beings and we are meant to in a primal way, release our emotions. This goes back to like caveman days. And so she taught me about having a hard, stress hard toolkit and a stress soft toolkit. And so like things like dish therapy, where you take a bunch of old dishes and you throw them into a trash can, how it's like a great way to relieve stress. Or taking a damn it doll, you can get one of those. And if you need to like relieve anger, you hit that damn it doll against a pillow, and it's like the most satisfying thing. So like these are some of the examples of wisdom that are within my book. And from a all the way from like a spiritual level to our dear friend Leanne Taylor, to, you know, life coaching level with you, to physicians and doctors and ER doctors like Jamie Hope, and psychologists and psychiatrists, and like even to my friend Dan DeLuca, who you also know, who's like a star on Disney's Newsies, but also like very, very spiritually aligned. So the voices in this book are what make the book. It's my story that is intertwined with their wisdom.
That is so, first, we love Dr. Jamie Hope, who's awesome. And I love the stress heart. I'm like, oh my God, that's so good. And the whole damn it doll, I'm like, that is a whole other thing. That's awesome. I just want to honor and acknowledge you, because not only did you interview all of these different types of, really these different ways of looking how to tap into authentic power, you tapped into your authentic power to write it, to birth it. And I must say, like, I remember the moment when it came out of you, your inner wisdom, your authentic power. And this is what I want to say, because this is for everyone. You followed it. You trusted it. You took not perfect action. You took the next right action. You got support. You put your heart into it. You believed in it. And to me, that's the journey of authentic power. And you are literally, I mean, you are the creator of it, and you're living it and showing it. And to me, it's really inspiring, because everyone has this. We all have this authentic power, big time.
Yeah. And that's what I would just want to say, like, that's what makes life designer coaching, the coaching that you gave me, so powerful, because I really didn't know that I had it within me until I was asked these very powerful questions, and I answered truthfully. And like what else you said, I like gave me chills, is I trusted it. And I took not the next right action, but just the next step, the next thing to make it a reality. Like, I still can't believe we're having this conversation, Julie. Like, because I remember the moment of this meditation, it's surreal, but it's also divinely orchestrated, because I trusted that inner knowing. And I'm going to continue to trust it. And like, I know my life is going to continue to change and transform in incredible ways, and hopefully help heal the world, because that's what I feel like I'm called here to do.
Oh, amen, sister. You are definitely here to help heal the world. And I'm going to just put this little challenge, because if you're listening, I know this, you also are here to help heal and somehow yourself in the world. You wouldn't be listening to Ashely, who is a world transformational leader and healer, truly. And I want to just reiterate this. It is about trusting. It is about building the muscle of trusting it. And thank you, my beautiful friend, for trusting yourself, for doing that work. Seriously, the healing work, the feeling work. Love, love, love this feel framework. And I'm going to have notes. I always tell everyone, like, I have notes. I'm going to give you notes. They're in the show notes, because it's so good. And really getting curious, going into your feeling, not avoiding it, and trusting yourself, because that authentic power, what I've seen with you, what I've seen is it will expand and grow the more you trust it, listen to it, and take any action, any little step, baby step, doesn't matter, anything in the direction of it. And it is so cool. I'm so grateful, because it is a beautiful, very powerful book that is all about what we all need right now. So bless you and the book, and just love you to pieces.
I love you so much, Julie. Thank you so, so much. Such a gift for me to share my story. And I hope it helps others take their steps towards healing as well.
Yay. All right. And Youest, you listener, I'm going to have to make sure that we have all the information, how you can get the book, If you want to learn more about Ashely and her amazing work, and we'd love to hear, we'd love to hear what were some of your biggest takeaways? What is your authentic power having you really wanting to do into 2022? Oh my gosh, 2022, all about the year that the number 2 is all about partnership with collaboration. So what is it that's speaking through your heart and your authentic power? What does it want to share with the world? We would love to know. And thank you so much for sharing your authentic power.